3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Force podcast, the podcast from three Puerto Rican friends coming together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd-related media. Today, we are going to continue our fabulous episode-by-episode discussions of Star Wars Visions, which I love so much, and Nani's back.
Nani's back. Welcome back. Jesus Christ, we've missed you.
I'm so sorry. For those of you that haven't been listening, I'm in law school and I had midterms, and so I'm exhausted. I can barely open my eyes, but I needed to join in for the discussion of some of these Visions episodes, which I have loved so much. And I was so looking forward to watching them from the moment that they were announced. So my counterparts here who are not that huge into anime, I've gotten Mo into it pretty decently. Have made some really good comments about the past episodes that I wasn't able to join. So congratulations. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to.
Thank you. We tried our best to keep the ship afloat without you. Thanks to Tori Fox for coming in and helping us out to complete the triad. So that was great. But yeah, it's not the same without you. You are the essential 33% of the triad. So we're very, very happy to unite once more and be at full power. Well, yeah, yeah. If you want to be exactly mathematical about it.
Yes. So yes. I'm very excited to talk about the Ninth Jedi today, which is one of my favorite episodes. It's actually, I think, maybe Josbando's like second episode favorite right after the duel. But before we get into it, I wanted to make a few notes because I really want to get people excited about anime now that this is like a thing with Visions. So I know that Mo was talking about how Village Bride was very, Princess Mononoke-esque, that whole aspect of, being in tune with nature and everything. So I can't recommend enough just all the Miyazaki films. They're available on HBO Max. Watch all of them. And even if you don't want to watch all of them, I would extremely recommend Howl's Moving Castle, which is my favorite, and Spirit Away, which I also love, and Josbando's, which is Princess Mononoke, is his favorite. If you liked the twins, there's this very, very bombastic art, exaggerated style involved with the twins that there's creators, I might be wrong, I'm pretty sure the same creator is the one that created Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill, which are very, very popular animes and have that just amazing art style to them. And if you liked Rhapsody in Tatooine, there's a lot of musical oriented animes out there too. K-On! Is one of them, and a lot of like really long running animes will always have like we're making our band arc. So I mean, all of these things actually are like tropes within what is anime, and anime has a whole bunch of like there's sports animes and like all
there's cooking ones
stuff. Yeah, there's a huge one.
It's weird, but
no Soma is super huge, and it's actually really, really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like it's a universe worth exploring. So if you have your interest piqued by watching Visions, then I would recommend just deep diving into that and go crazy. So the Ninth Jedi,
man, that's I mean, as we've said before, Visions has been a home run, and most, if not all, of the episodes have been something really special and unique. And I think unique is the right word because every one of them does something so different that makes each one special in its own way. But obviously some episodes will rise above the rest or resonate with each person in a different way. And Ninth Jedi is one that really did it for me. And from what I've seen, like a lot of people also connected with that episode as well. And it's one that really blew my mind in similar ways to how the Duel and Village Bride did, just because it established itself within a mythos, right? It's a Star Wars mythos, but a different Star Wars mythos than we're used to, and set it in this ancient post-war or pre-war, or like who knows when it is, but it feels so mystical and old but new at the same time, with like all these characters trying to discover the secrets of what was, that really made it super, super engaging and fun. And I mean, not to go into the details because we'll talk about them later, but it was definitely one of the stories that I was like, oh man, I really want to continue going into that world and seeing what happens. But I mean, those were like my first initial impressions with Ninth Jedi. It was amazing. It was a home run. It was a masterpiece.
Yep. What about you, Mo?
To me, it's interesting because what resonated like at the beginning, it brought back memories of this weird like Mormon cartoon from back in the 90s, and it had this like the same narration, the same like pacing, and it was all about like establishing like the mystery of what like Mormonism is, and it felt like this was the same version of for like the Jedi. They were like going back and like just opening up this whole like universe of mystery and like the old times, like no one has lightsaber and who knows when, and you have all these characters that just surrounded by like intrigue, and that was the whole like it felt like in a way like it's weird. It's like a recruitment video for like Jedis. If that makes sense.
A little bit, yeah.
But the whole story was just like mesmerizing, and I've loved that all of the visions are okay with like, you know, let's just explore like lightsabers and kyber crystals and like what how the force is manifested, and they're not afraid to do it. And I think there's another prime example of like, you know, just because we've seen, oh, that's not how lightsabers work, who cares? This is the force. There's like a story.
Thinking outside the box.
Exactly. Like think outside. So there's so much like imagination going on behind it, and the story is so like heartwarming. Like you want to see what happens next. You want to follow them on their adventure to rescue the father at the end. Like so I think it's one of those, it might be actually like, apart from, it's like the most open-ended one so far that we've seen. You know, there's a clear next step, you know, we have to save the father, like so there's like a journey that's paved out for all these characters. So I think I'm not sure, you know, where Disney might be taking it, but if anything, this seems like one of the episodes is like leaving breadcrumbs for a future development.
And I really think it would work either way. If you just leave it at that and we don't get any more, it's still perfectly contained and fantastic. And if you explore what it is, I think it would be a very good story to see where it concludes. So I think it would work either way, which is one of the things that I really loved about it. I mean, the animation in all the episodes has been amazing, but this one was one that really resonated with me. I really loved the art style and everything. I love the fact that they explore different areas of the lightsaber and, you know, kyber crystal mythos, which is something that I've always loved. And we've talked about before when we talked about the younglings and how they would construct their own, you know, lightsabers and everything. I love how, you know, out of every subject that you can pick from Star Wars, you know, this one focused obviously in that father-daughter relationship, which was actually one of the ones that it's like a healthy relationship. But it's also, you know, about lightsabers, and you're set it in a world where one of the most defining characteristics of both Jedi and Sith was lost to history, and they don't even know about it. Could you imagine a world where Sith and Jedi don't have lightsabers?
What do they? Like, what are they gonna do? Like, what are they gonna do? Kick each other and punch each other?
It's my tricks.
No, that doesn't make any sense. They need their lightsaber. So it's this like really weird, like dystopian idea of like, oh, lightsabers are coming back. So I thought it was framed in a really, really cool way. And then because of the idea that lightsabers stopped existing, you could do whatever you wanted with how you make a lightsaber. So I really, really loved it. So going into some of the details, the one who was the voice actor for the dad in Japanese, I'm not going to say his name because my pronunciation would be horrific, but it's like one of my favorite voice actors in anime. It's like anime legend. So it's like you can see the influence of all these people that want to be involved in something Star Wars. So I always think that's really cool.
Right. That's so cool. And like to be able to recognize voice actors from a different language. I mean, that's especially a language like you don't talk. I think that's a really
Or
cool thing to be able to
actually.
pick up, because at least for me, it's very hard to be able to like recognize a voice in a language I don't understand, because it might even be a voice speaking that like I've known, but if they're speaking another language, sometimes it's hard to connect to the person. But anyway, I digress. Uh, Going back to like the whole kyber crystal thing, I think it's super interesting because all, if not most of the episodes on visions, obviously they all had like their own interpretations of the force and whatnot, but they also, a lot of them touched with like how the kyber crystal works. And two specific examples is the duel. I mean, the duel mostly seen through the Ronin novel, which just finished it. It's amazing. If you haven't, go get yourself a copy, go read it. You won't regret it. But also then obviously the Ninth Jedi. And I think it's really interesting how they frame it with how the kyber crystal isn't just tied into the user that only made it. It's like tied to anyone that touches it. And it's this living thing that lives in an augmented way at all times, instead of being like it currently is in Star Wars canon, right? Whereas like the kyber crystal is like tied to the essence of the person who made the lightsaber, and then that's it. Here, like the crystal is even more alive than we're used to in canon. I think that's a beautiful thing, especially like in that scene when the Sith are fighting the Margrave, and then the Margrave like takes the lightsaber from the Sith, and the blade turns from red to green, and then poops, with the little ring around it. I'm like, oh yes, this is amazing. Well,
and even from the beginning, when the daughter first picks it up, and it's like,
it's weak,
kind of a shadow of it, and then she can like make it as long or short as she wants, because you know that there's potential, but it's not like completely solidified. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of like the demons in his Dark Materials. When you're a child, like it's very progressive, like it changes and everything, but once you're cemented in what you want, it becomes more clear, which as she starts to fight, it becomes more clear, it starts going green and everything. So I really appreciated that, and I thought it was really cool. I mean, going into the details, because we're not going to talk about every single thing, I knew there was something fishy going on the entire time the episode was happening. I mean, I didn't really know like if it was like the main guy that was like luring them into a trap, but I knew there was something going on. But then when all those lightsabers turned red,
I did not see that coming.
Not expected that. That was great. I got goosebumps. It was like, holy shit, they're all Sith. It was great. I thought it was fantastic.
Well, because the framing, it was baiting you to think that the Margrave in the hologram, because of how he looks, it's like a Darth Vader callback, right? It looks like he's the bad guy. So when the episode started, I'm like, wait, I mean, it's the good guy, but they're making him look like the bad guy, and they're in an ominous temple. So they want you to think that he's gonna betray them. So maybe not. So like all the time, I'm trying to play the fourth dimensional chess with figuring out if the Margrave is actually the bad guy, and then all of a sudden, like all the Jedi actually Sith. I'm like, oh shit! Pulled the wool over my eye, making me think of this other thing. It's a sleight of hand, and I appreciate it, right? Because then it makes the show a little more engaging, less predictable than we thought it was going to be. But all those visuals are dope. Like in that scene, like establishing shots of the planet when we see like the catapults on the planet, like
fishing for the
kyber fishing for kyber crystal in space. I was like, what that's the cool thing of anime.
Watching it, Wally was just like, are they literally fishing for like meteors for kyber crystals?
It's like, yes, they are. And it's cool.
It's cool.
It was. And how fantastic were the speeder bikes in this one? And that whole fight, like letting go of the speeder bike, staying on the ice, and the speeder bike like just coming back to her like super fluidly. That's something that really like anime and animation in general done this way just makes it so gorgeous to look at. Like you can't stop. She's like, oh, let me rewind and watch that again because it's so good.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but would you rather see like this show continue? I mean, this episode continue like as a show, or would you want it to be like a feature film if it were to continue?
Actually, I think a show would maybe drag it on too long. So if they want to give maybe some of these creators the chance to do, like an anime film, because usually they're like an hour and 15 minutes or something, and then kind of like conclude the story and do something like Miyazaki style, an anime film, I would be okay with that. Especially for this story and then for the duel, because there's more that you want from them. And actually Lapa and Ocho, which we'll get to, because that was also very open-ended. So I would be completely okay if they were open to that. I would not be okay for them like to drag out a bunch of series about it, because I think it would like dilute the magic that it is. And if they want to do like more seasons of Visions, I would space them out every few years and then just bring in new creators every time,
right, to make it special
stories every time. And then whichever ones are like really, really people are very in love, like maybe give them the possibility to make a film about them. I think that might be a good,
or a spin-off book, like the case with the Duel.
With
although like, well, I do appreciate having like the expansion of the Duel in Ronin as a novel, which I guess, as I mentioned, great book, go read it. I still want them to keep focusing like extra stories in like visual media, because there's when publishing, I mean, it's a fact, publishing isn't as widely seen or consumed by as much people as the people that are watching the shows / the movies. I mean, it goes movies, shows, books in that order.
Less
so
exposure.
like, so keeping like this world in the visual medium makes it more accessible to people, and like these stories are so good that I kind of want them to live there so that more people are able to enjoy them. I mean, not to knock the literary world, because it's wonderful, but it's so rich, this visual style of anime and what they were able to achieve with these Star Wars stories, that I want to keep living in those spaces for a little longer.
Obviously the glory of knowing what you're doing, because there was that magical, we were talking about the lightsabers, that one character who had been like kind of a spy within the Jedi, and his lightsaber starts out red and then it turns purple.
Yeah.
And
That's
it
so
was
good.
just like I think I've been with I know, like in the middle of the fight, it's just like, wait, I think my nature has actually changed by me trying to be with them for too long, and then it goes purple. And I thought that was a great, fantastic touch. And then at the very end, that image that just stays with you, because you have and it's upside down, and you have like where the castle is or whatever, and then it's like, oh my god, that looks like a lightsaber. And then those obvious genius anime creators just flip it around, and
it's
you
like,
get that awesome,
it looks like it because it is.
It is a lightsaber, and then it's just this whole message of like hope, light shining throughout the galaxy. Jedi are coming back, and we're in search to save the Father and all these things. And that relationship between them was very evocative of like Rogue One, her relationship with her dad and everything. And this time you have a chance to like possibly save the dad. So it's like, maybe
yes, please, yes, let's keep
getting this done.
Let's let parents live and have healthy relationships.
So all in all, it really struck me as very beautiful and hitting so many themes of Star Wars, especially from another culture's perspective of it, and just hitting the nail on so many things. So I really, really enjoyed this episode. I wasn't expecting to love it as much, from like the description of what it was supposed to be, and then I was just like blown away. It was really
like I've said many times before the series even premiered and was only announced. I said in the show a lot. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of anime, so I wasn't excited for the show. I was obviously looking forward to it because more Star Wars is good. But the show definitely blew away any and all expectations, and I'm like 100% on the train. And I want more, but I'm with you, Nani, though, in that sense that I want more, but I want it sparingly. I don't want it to be like a constant. I want to be a flood. I don't want to be a flood, a hurricane here of visions. Because then it's just like, then it doesn't have that uniqueness, right? And it's the same thing with Star Wars in general, right? In the movies, I think Star Wars is better when there's less of it, and I think Visions will be the same thing.
So here's hoping they continue to make these good decisions about it. And unless any of you have any more thoughts about the Ninth Jedi, I think we've covered it pretty well.
Last thought on Ninth Jedi, more Ninth Jedi.
More Ninth Jedi.
This is the 10th Jedi now. Let's go.
Well, yeah, I guess they can do a 10th Jedi, but They still got the
Yeah.
sabers. They killed a bunch of
Yeah,
Siths.
I would very much look forward to see if there's other, Jedi candidates that they find, and there's some unknown colors for
Yeah.
kyber crystals and lightsabers that
True.
we haven't explored. So I think that would be really cool too if they go in that
Yes.
direction. So
Please.
Although it really takes out like any element of surprise. It's like you're holding like a green saber and then it turns red.
yeah.
It's like you better
It's like,
run.
Sith.
Although it might be a thing where, and I think Japanese storytelling and anime kind of excels at this, where villains are not necessarily villainous. They're just like villains are just antagonists, and maybe Sith and Red isn't necessarily evil. It's just a perceived way that like the main characters see it, but it's a more complex scenario. Maybe like at the end of a arc of the show or whatever the thing that we're exploring, red lightsabers just mean something completely different. They end up being part of the hero squad. I think that could be an interesting thing to explore. Who knows?
Red saber redemption.
yeah, like our friends Kiki Waffle posted one day. Maybe we have anti-heroes. Why don't we have anti-villains now? Let's explore it.
Mm-hmm. And there's clearly an element of intention to it, because the one guy that had the red lightsaber, when like the intention and the consciousness changed, it went back to purple. So does it change depending on mood and intention?
Yeah, like a mood ring.
Goal and
It's a lightsaber mood ring.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm okay with all of it.
Imagine if it just turns like completely like black, like pitch black.
Yeah, like the yeah.
No, but not like not like the dark saber where it still shines. It's just like a black hole.
It's just blackness,
like sucking light around itself and everything.
I don't know if I'll be like impressed or concerned about it, but
or terrified.
Like, both.
All three.
All three.
And then you just read it.
Yeah, like entranced and swallowed by it. Yes. But anyway, I think on that note, we are done with the Ninth Jedi. So stay tuned. We're going to finish our series of Visions episodes, and we will always have our regularly scheduled episodes. I will try to be around as much as I can, but for today, we are Triad of the Force. Thank you for joining us. You can follow us on YouTube, Twitter, podcasts, anywhere that podcast can be found. Just search for Triad of the Force. We have some shirts, some cool stuff. Comment, like, subscribe, and let us know what you think. So until next time, may the Force be with you.